All right, what's up? Welcome back to Pick and Roll. We're going to talk about the first day games of the NBA playoffs. Here with three exceptional basketball players. Ishmael, how's it going? What you been up to?
I'm good, man. Just chilling. Trying to get ready for the season, you know. I think it's going to start on time, unfortunately. So, got to get even more ready.
Let's hope so, man. I'm waiting another day to see who the London Lions haven't signed yet. So
I know.
pretty sure Matt's going to sign one pretty soon. Matt, what you been up to?
Just chilling. You already know, quarantine and that. So just trying to slowly get back in shape. Been heading down to Surrey a bit. You know, they got their little bubble going on down there. So good pick up games and getting some shots up and stuff, you know.
So I'm just hoping we'll probably see. I don't know. I think you're too good for the BBL, but I mean, I'm hoping we will see you in the BBL though, probably.
Can't say I don't know what's happening yet. Haven't talked to my agents about all over, but obviously, you know, because of COVID, everything's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, for real. Good. Chuck, what's going on, brother?
Good, man. I'm good. Just trying to get in shape as well, man, for the D1 season. Just started a new job as well, so just getting to grips with everything as well. So yeah.
All good. Well, big first day of the NBA playoffs. Chuck, I'm going to come right at you. We all know that you're a Dallas Mavericks fan. Now,
Sure.
Let's talk about the technical foul, the ejection of the unicorn. Because, well, first of all, what's your take on the ejection, Chuck?
Do you know what? Yeah, I saw a lot of people being up in arms about it's the playoffs, this, that, and the third. And as annoyed as I was, it was his second tee. It wasn't like it was a straight ejection. So, and I do think it did tilt the way the game went. I do think the Mavs would have won if Kristaps had stayed in the game. So I was pissed off, but I get it, man. I get it. I did think it was a soft technical, but it is what it is, man.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this one at Matt now. Matt, you've played professional basketball all over the world. Now, let's just say you're in a case scenario. You've got one technical already, and you see your teammate in a mix-up with an opponent player. Are you immediately going to go in there, try and protect your teammate, risk knowing the fact that if you get another technical foul, you're going to be out of the game? If you're in that scenario, what would you have done if you're Porzingis?
It's a tough one. Because you want to go in naturally, like your natural instinct is to go in, and you're not probably thinking about the first tech. You know what I mean? You're just kind of going off emotion, trying to protect your teammate. But then, obviously, him being who he is and what he means to that team, obviously, him and Luka being the figureheads for the franchise, like, he knows everything is going to happen because Luka's going to give you his triple doubles. Luka's going to give you his 30 or 40 or whatever. But it's about how good he can be as a backup star, I guess, or the second point. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. To go into. I'm trying to picture if it was me in the game, but I don't know. I'm kind of hard-headed, so I probably would have been in there getting an ejection my damn self anyway.
So Ishmael, beginning of the game, Doncic doesn't get off to a good start. Couple of turnovers, and the Clippers come out on fire. They come up like 18-4. It's pretty much Clippers 18, Luka Doncic 4. But when Doncic went out of the game, what happened to the Mavericks? I mean, what did you see about the? I mean, it was like 8 3-pointers in the first quarter. What do you make of that?
I think what people are not getting, Doncic seems to be this beloved guy, and I kind of feel like the ball gets stuck with him sometimes. I honestly feel like the ball gets stuck with him sometimes and the game don't flow. You got shooters like Stephen Curry's little big brother and stuff. Like, the ball has to move. You have to catch the ball in rhythm. And one thing about a ball-dominant star is you don't really get through all your offenses. They tend to break the offense. They tend to go one-on-one a lot. But with the pieces you put around someone like that, these guys know the offenses. They're professionals. So they now can kind of play a bit more free and a bit more in their style. I'm not saying Doncic is not a good player. I'm just saying sometimes the way he starts games is Super Bowl dominant. That's just and the skill set that he has around him don't flourish because it's not just a catch and finish. It's Doncic coming off a screen and taking 50 dribbles and waiting to see the opening part. And if he can score, he can score. If not, he's throwing it. And that's where I think they messed up. If he gets off to a bad start, the team gets off to a bad start. And that's what happens with ball dominant guards.
It's interesting though, because when he got back in the game, when he left the game, that's all of a sudden it started raining threes. Curry started to find his confidence a lot more. You can see the players start to get up and transition more, but it's almost like when he came back in, turned his A game up, and it clicked. But no, having watched this game, Chuck, are you confident that the Mavericks can compete with the Clippers?
I'd like to think they can, but I don't think we saw the best of the Clippers yesterday, if I'm being honest. They were good down the stretch. So I want to say that, I do think the Mavs will win a game. I've got the Clippers winning in 6. But I just think that, again, I think the Mavs we sort of saw the best of the Mavs, but we didn't see the best of the Clippers yesterday, and that's my team, man. I don't think so, no.
Check this one out between Ishmael and NBA. NBA, what do you think the series is going to finish between these two teams?
I think Chuck's got it on point, probably 4-2. I think Mavs will win a couple games, but I think because of the rocky season, I guess, for the Clippers, like they just do enough to win. I don't think you're going to see them blow out teams throughout the playoffs or whatever it may be. Like they just do what they have to do to be in games, and then as you saw, like down the stretch, the fourth quarter and stuff, their stars will kind of take over and make big shots and do what it takes to win. But I don't see it being any different. I think that because of their style and because of the way everything's going on, the Clippers will win, but they're going to lose a couple games, I think, in this series.
Ishmael, what about you?
I think the Clippers might drop one game. I was watching the game yesterday and I thought they just got too much coverages. Like when you got Kawhi, Beverly, and you've got Paul George, like that's 3 premier defenders who can guard 1 to 5 if needs be. If a team goes small, if needs be, they can switch everything. I don't know how you compete with that, especially with the way Luka Doncic walks that ball up. I don't see how. I mean, and the 3 different coverages are 3 different types of on-ball defenders who do their job really well. You got Patrick Beverly, who's an irritant. You got Kawhi Leonard, who's really long, and you've got someone like Paul George, who deflects and denies, and he's great at stealing the ball. So it's just 3 different coverages that I don't think they can deal with. I think the only chance they really got of winning the game is by moving the basketball, and that's not going to happen.
Tough one. Looks like we're all agreeing that the Clippers are going to win this one. Chuck, NBA, you said it best. I mean, we didn't see the best of the Clippers. The first 4 minutes are on fire. We probably saw the best of the Mavericks, but interesting. We got 4-1, 4-2, probably how it's going. Moving on, the biggest game I want to talk about right now is the series between the Nuggets and the Jazz. Now, first thing I'm going to ask to you, NBA, is 57 points. That's probably one of the best playoff performances we've seen in a very long time. From a Utah Jazz player, that is. But I mean, probably the last thing we saw from that was from the mailman, probably John Stockton. But can the Utah Jazz get anything out of this series with what they have?
I don't see it happening. I think Denver's got too much firepower, if I'm being honest with you. You saw the best of what Donovan Mitchell was going to give you. And that being said, it was still had to go into overtime and still couldn't get the win. I think they might scrape a game out, but yeah, probably a gentleman's sweep. I'd say probably 4-1 because Donovan Mitchell's not going to give you that every night. I'm not saying he's not capable of, but consistently, give somebody 60 or whatever it may be in a playoff series is going to be tough. But he was going crazy, obviously, throughout that game. Shots he was hitting, he was giving you a little bit of everything, like scoops, underarms, pull up threes in transition. Like he was giving you a little bit of everything, and I don't see that happening like throughout the whole series.
Chuck, I mean, you look at that game, right? And of course, I thought Joe Ingles played very well, especially shot the ball well from 3, got out in transition. That's the style they want to play, run and gun. But who else is going to step up with Donovan Mitchell? Who needs to step up?
Rudy Gobert. I think he needs to do a bit more. I kind of feel sorry for him because he's used to being, I guess, the 7'2", 7'3" big guy in the lineup, and then now he's facing a team that has more, probably the longest team in the league. They've got Jokic, who's about 7 feet. Jeremy Grant is about 6'10", 6'11". Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10". So he's I guess maybe out of his depth a bit, but you know, if they're gonna win a game, if they're gonna make this series competitive, he needs to play, you know, out of his skin. You know what I mean? I think Joe Ingles again is going to be important. I felt sorry for him yesterday because Jamal Murray was cooking him, man. He looked like he needed a break or two, man. There was one play when he came off the screen and he looked like he was about to have an asthma attack. And then Jamal Murray just stroked the free in his face. So yeah, man, I think losing Mike Conley is tough for them because, you know, if he's in the series, you know, I still think Denver win, but you know, that's one that I could see going to 7. But not having him, not having Bogdanovic, not having, you know, I think they lost. Is it Ed Davis as well?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a big ask for them even to win a game, if I'm being honest. Like, but yeah, Rudy Gobert is definitely going to be important. I think Jordan Clarkson as well. I think he played good off the bench. If they're going to have a chance, he's got to play out of his team as well. But yeah, like, I don't see them winning more than a game.
Ish, I think there's like a minute 45 left. The Nuggets are down 4. Donovan Mitchell's got the ball, and he gets called for 8-second violation. If he doesn't get called for that 8-second violation, do the Utah Jazz win that game?
Yeah, it's a different game. You know, those last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter are so important. Like you can pinpoint where things go wrong in those last 2 minutes of any game. It's universally, in the last 2 minutes we turned the ball over like this, or we committed this foul. It's just what happens. You don't want to give people free chances to get extra possessions, especially when you're up. But in the same breath, I say that they had a chance to win the game in the overtime, but they decided to put Ingles on Youngboy, and Youngboy was cooking him. I don't understand why you don't go, after the first 2, and Ingles ain't figured it out. Okay, guys, we're trapping the screen now, and let someone else beat us. Or actually, guys, Donovan, you guard him. Let's see what happens. Just giving him different coverages. Like, I'm watching the coverages off this drag screen and thinking, he doesn't have to pass if he don't want to, ever. Like, there's no switches, there's nothing. So, yeah, it was a big turning point, but they had the chance they had a chance to play some great defense in overtime. I've never seen someone so comfortable in overtime hitting jumpers like this. I've never seen it, man. And that's not me saying that this kid's the second coming, because we all know he's not. You know, I feel like putting Ingles on him was a bad move. Personally, I don't think you rest your superstar in that situation. Sorry, superstar. This is a situation we're in, but we're paying you this much. Go lock him up. I understand you got 50,000 points, but look, you ain't going to win this game if you don't lock him up. You know,
yeah,
just to reference Kobe. Kobe had 61 whilst guarding Brandon Roy. He weren't guarding someone else. You know, they didn't hide him somewhere. So this is what has to happen in the playoffs.
NBA, what do you call this series? What do you reckon?
Yeah, gentleman's sweep 4-1, I think. I think it's going to be over with. And then I know he's young, but I think people are forgetting, like, Jamal Murray was already starting to come into his own. Like, he's already becoming kind of Robin to Jokic's Batman, you know what I mean? Like, they knew, or they were looking at him as that type. And I don't know if it was injury, I don't know if it was what, or they were just resting him. But you got to remember, early doors, in the bubble, they was resting him. You know what I mean? He didn't play the first few scrimmages and stuff like that. But this is the reason why, like, he was there. He was at practices. You could, like, the league was showing highlights of him getting up and down, killing in practice and stuff like that. He just wasn't playing in the game. So it's like, because he didn't really play much in the playing games or whatever, the seeding games or whatever they're calling them. Guys are forgetting, like, boy, he's out there. Like, he's definitely, like, on the verge of, you know what I mean, breaking out into his own and into his own kind of field and trying to be the next guard coming up in the West.
So, MB, I got another question for you, because, you know, you play a variety of positions from 3 to 5. How do you guard Nikola Jokic?
That's a tough one, because his game is so versatile. Like, obviously, you saw, like, you got him pump faking at the 3. You got big boy Gobert like jumping at the 3-point line. Then he's taking him and he's like bigger than him, like physically stronger than him. So he's like running him down on the post and sweeping hooks, and like he's got so many different ways he can score. You know, it's like it's a tough one because you can't really put anybody smaller on him because he'll post him up. You put bigs or like size guys on him, he's out there diamond dudes and shooting threes, and so it's just trying to do as much as you can to contain him. And probably he doesn't float. It's a tough one because he doesn't float, like just stay on the 3-point line and float. But you're going to try and push him away and make him be a passer. But then again, you know, he can finish the game with 10 assists. So like he's a very versatile player. Like it's why he is who he is, I guess, innit? His game looks unorthodox or whatever for today's NBA, but he still gets it done. His numbers are always crazy. So it's a tough way. It's tough to pinpoint how to guard him, but I think obviously each team will have their own different type of style or game plan against him to push him away from what they will think are his strengths.
Chuck, if you've got to guard a player like Jamal Murray and you know he's got a hot hand, what do you have to do?
I mean, as a player, you know, you're always told to, you know, make him do something different. You know, if he's hit a few jumpers, you know, you're forcing him to go to the basket, forcing him to go to the basket. I think, you know, part of that's also on the coach because, you know, like Ish said, you know, it's about coverage, you know, especially, you know, yesterday he was coming off screens every single time. So, you know, you want to throw maybe a trap or some sort of double team at him once he's hit, you know, 2, 3. You can't just, you know, just keep letting him force a pick and roll and get to where he wants to get to. But in terms of, you know, one-on-one coverage, you wanna force him to go, you know, to drive to the basket and force him into help defense. That's the way you know approach defending a guy who's hit X amount of jumpers, you know.
So moving on now, we go to the Brooklyn Nets along with the Toronto Raptors. Pretty convinced the scoreline. Just going to ask it one by one. Is this series even a contest, Ishmael?
It's a sweep, unfortunately. The Brooklyn have done well to get this far. So let's not. I don't want to sound like they're a bad team or whatever. How they set out to be is not how they ended up being. So they've done really well so far. There's teams that they've almost overachieved, but Toronto are a well-oiled championship contender, and it's not going to happen, unfortunately.
NBA, can the Raptors get back to the finals?
Yeah. One thing you notice about what they're doing right now is they remind me of the Spurs. Just as Ish said, like a well-oiled machine. Like you are going to see, all right, bar maybe Siakam having a crazy highlight, but you're just going to see great basketball, great ball movement. I think I was watching a clip the other day and I seen them get a mismatch off the pick and roll. The team recovered. Next thing you know, they penetrate, kick, swing to the corner, wide open 3. Like you're just going to get great basketball right now. Everything that they're doing is well coached. They know their sets, they know their teammates. Everybody's kind of within themselves. So I think right now, like their team game is gonna beat teams, and people are not realizing that, and people are forgetting that these guys were the first or the second seed before Kawhi got there. So when Kawhi's left and they're still the second seed and locked up the second seed in the East, like they're there for a reason. And obviously the emergence of guys like Van Fleet and Siakam, guys that are coming on, you know what I mean? Siakam becoming an all-star and stuff like that. So you've got guys, all right, they might not have a superstar. However, you know, you've got 2 at least with Siakam and Lowry, all-stars, you know what I mean? Fred VanVleet coming into his own. Guys that are experienced, Serge Ibaka, you know what I mean? Gasol, like, your team is solid. And as Ish kind of said about the Nets, like, one thing you'll see and you'll learn, and this squad, obviously, like you said, they kind of overachieve, but they definitely are a team that don't quit. And you got people not forget, but like they're in the bubble without their top 8 players. Like that's actually crazy to think that they even made it to the playoffs. But yeah, I think it should be a sweep, yeah, 4-0, but the way the Nets play and their heart, like I could see them squeezing a game, but nothing more than that.
NBA's got one game. What about you, Chuck?
I got sweep. I got 4-0. I like the Nets. I think for me, watching them, I watched that game yesterday, and one thing I picked up, not really for this season, but for next season, is they've got a lot of questions for how they integrate Kyrie and KD into this team. 2, what they do with Karis LeVert, because he's good enough to start, man. He's tough. Like, I think he had like 15 and 14 yesterday. Whether they realize his value and trade him and try and get another piece for Kyrie and KD, whether they keep him and bring him off the bench. They've still got Spencer Dinwiddie coming back as well. And Joe Harris as well. They're an exciting team for the future. And I think, as far as this year's goes, I think this is a 4-0.
4-0. Going on now to the Celtics and the Sixers. Obviously, the Sixers right now, they're down. Ben Simmons is out with a knee injury. Joel Embiid was, for the most part, he was in the game, was pretty much unstoppable. But, who are the other players that really need to step up right now, NBA, that really need to give Joel Embiid that support? They got Tobias Harris. Richardson played well, but it's just not enough right now against the Celtics. But who, in your mind, really needs to step up and become that 20 points per game for them?
I just think it's Tobias, straight up and down. He got paid. Obviously, people are expecting big things from him. He is, 18, 19-point average scorer, but obviously everybody has to step it up, and especially with as you said, Ben Simmons, like, it's got to be Tobias's show. He's got to be the X factor, I guess, for the series, because with all the forwards that the Celtics have, Philly needs some firepower on that wing, and he can definitely do it. It's just about, like, again, it being consistent. What you're gonna get from Embiid. To me, like, sometimes he just makes the game look so easy. Like, he's just bigger than everybody, strong, but he's also finesse with it. So, like, he makes the game look bare, like, simple, and like he's playing with so much ease. But if you can have Tobias out there with him, matching, I guess, because he can score like that, matching his score outputs of Embiid, then we'll have the series. But I think, I don't know, it looks like they're a bit disconnected, Philly. They came in with some great hopes coming into the bubble, and the seeding games didn't kind of play out how they wanted it to play out. So they look a bit disconnected and not kind of in the right, all on the same page, I think.
Ishmael, you look at the lineup that the Celtics have got with players such as Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I'm not overly convinced about Gordon Hayward right now, but, in terms of what he's given to this team, how do they look in terms of if they win this series and matching up with a team such as the Raptors in the next round?
That's the round I really want to see. I want to see superstars play against well-oiled defensive machines who, at some point, Van Fleet's going to be on someone way bigger than him. Van Fleet plays the two. So I just want to see how the Celtics function in that next round. I don't think the Sixers have enough. I don't think Tobias Harris has to step up. I think the biggest problem is seeing how well Joel Embiid plays when Ben Simmons ain't on the floor. I think that's where you got to start getting. That's where it gets spooky. Ben Simmons will pass the ball and they go stand under the rim. No, that's not your spot, bro. You go back to the wing. So this is where it gets spooky for the Sixers. Okay, we need to figure this out, how to play this game. But the Boston Celtics, I think playing the Raptors, that's gonna be amazing for me. That's actually my, in the East anyway. That's gonna determine a lot for me. Because if the Toronto Raptors turn over the Boston Celtics, it's going to build a question in Boston's heart and everyone's heart. I don't want to see what Danny Ainge does, because Danny Ainge has got the team he wants. I'd
volatile too, boy.
I'd actually really enjoy that, because that'd be very funny.
Chuck, when you look at the Celtics, what's their biggest threat right now?
Their biggest threat is that Gordon Hayward's girl is about to pop a baby. He's about to leave the bubble. That's the biggest threat. Yeah, no.
Not having Gordon's going to be a threat, or having him is going to be a threat.
No, not having him.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a massive loss because he said he's going to leave the bubble when she gives birth, and it looks like from what I heard, she's due any time now. So if they don't have him for the Toronto series, that could be a gentleman's sweep. I think if he's there, as long as he's there, they can. I think they can beat anyone in the East except for the Bucks. But as soon as he goes, I think they're in trouble, man. I think the minute he goes, they go. I think they'll get past the Sixers comfortably, but it's those next two rounds. You're looking at Toronto and then either the Bucks or Miami, and Jason Tatum and his bogeyman in the league is Giannis. So I think they'll need Gordon Hayward. I think he'll be a big miss when he does depart for the birth of his child. But otherwise, I think they look tight, man. I think Jason Tatum's starting to play like the the superstar everybody said he was. Jaylen Brown's been playing phenomenal. Even like Wanamaker has been playing great. Robert Williams has been playing great. Like they're getting a lot from their role players. So I think, it's just a case of just building on that momentum from the bubble, and just hoping that Gordon Hayward stays as long as possible.
It's interesting you talk about Jason Tatum, and I'm going to ask this one to you, NBA, is that you look at the last time that the Celtics played the Bucks. It was like, 4 or 5, or maybe 3-4 games ago. And like you said, Chuck, the biggest problem they had was Giannis, as he'd be anybody's problem. But the first matchup they had was Gordon Hayward guarding Giannis. Well, that didn't work out, so then it became Jaylen Brown, then it became Jason Tatum. But I personally felt that the only matchup where they could try and contain him, not stop him, was with Marcus Smart. But what I'm going to ask you, NBA, is do you think Jason Tatum, for the Celtics, if they are to meet the Bucks at some point in the playoffs, do you think he's going to have to be the defensive key, the matchup that would help them defeat the Bucks, say in the conference finals, if they get that far?
No, probably Marcus Smart, me personally. I think they may switch around and do some stuff or have some other guys guard him if it's in the half court. But if you can have somebody bug him and get underneath him as he's like bringing the ball up and stuff like that, I think that causes more of an issue for Giannis. And Marcus Smart's strength to go along with his speed is something that bothers him, because they don't have anybody like Miami have like a Bam that's like size, as athletic, you know what I mean, that can stay with him. But if you get as a big, like if you have a guard and you're on the perimeter, if you have a guard that's up underneath you and strong, then it causes most issues.
Definitely. So we talked about the games that happened yesterday. Big games coming up today, one starting pretty soon. Let's talk about the matchups that we're going to see, of course. I mean, let's go on. We talked about this a lot last time, the Rockets and OKC. This became a big topic of debate in the last one we did. Ishmael, I think, how many games is he out? I think it's 2 games he might be out with his leg injury. Is that going to be, how big a blow is that going to be to the Rockets?
Listen, the Rockets are in trouble, bro. Like, this is the point. So you've got somewhat, when the PJ Tucker thing only works because of how explosive Russell is when he gets in the lane and how fast they run as a team. Now you've lost one guy that runs. So they're in trouble. Who are you going to start over Russell? Austin Rivers, the ball stopper. So you're going to have 2 guys doing that. And then you're going to have the best leader in the NBA. I still think, as traditional point guards go, I don't know, when people say number 1 point guard in the league is Damian Lillard, I don't see it. But as a point guard, not a points guard, a point guard, the best leader you have who can also score and take over a game is Chris Paul. And they're more traditional. And they're long without Chris Paul. So it's going to be interesting for me. This is what I felt like. I felt like it's the most competitive series at the moment. I don't think any series will be as competitive as that one.
Lakers Portland.
Just like to say that.
Nah, I'm not. No, that's not gonna be competitive. Nah, we're good. Nah.
Chuck, do you think that possibly without Westbrook, this might be a chance for other players in the Rockets to really step up and I guess maybe take that role that he has temporarily? I'm not saying without him they're going to play better, but do you think this would be a chance for them to sort of step in and show what they could do to make up for that gap for however long it is, 2 games or whatever?
So was that me? Sorry, my internet just went a bit funny.
Sorry. So with Westbrook gone, you think about the players that are going to have to step in and step up right now. I mean, not having Westbrook's obviously a very, very massive loss, but do you think they have the players in their roster that can step in temporarily, substitute for these 2 games that he's gone to make sure that they're productive?
Yes, but not against OKC. I'm not sure, because if there's one thing OKC do really well is they've got, they're really good in the backcourt. Like they've got, Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander, Chris Paul. If Schroeder's back for this series as well, those are 3 tough guards to go against. And I don't think, Eric Gordon's missed. I think he missed quite a few games, and he's only just come back. So I don't know how much he'll help them. Definitely can't fill the shoes of Russ. Like James Harden's going to be James Harden. So, but nah, I mean, after that, you're talking about Austin Rivers and Ben McLemore, decent players. But again, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one.
So NBA, going on to back to CP3, going on to about having a dominant point guard. You played with some pretty good point guards in your career: Isaiah Thomas, Nicholas Aguirre at San Lorenzo de Almagro, Justin Robinson. You guys grew up together playing at Brixton. How big or how well do you think this series is going to be determined by how well Chris Paul plays?
Oh, that's the series right there. Like, people forget how, without necessarily scoring, how much he impacts the game. Like, if he didn't go down a couple years back, Houston beat, Golden State, while Golden State's on their tear as a dominant force. Like, his as Ish said, his ability to run a team is second to none in the league right now. If you're going as far as saying traditional point guards, whatever, he is obviously the number 1 in the league. And just being able to run a team and get people's best out of them, I think is what he does. So I think he's a key to the whole series. How he plays or how he manages OKC is how the whole team is going to go, whether they win, lose, or draw. Like, it's just going to end up through Chris Paul.
Going on to another series now. Series I pretty much see is going to be one-sided. I have to admit, I grew up as an Orlando Magic fan, but to say this is a David versus Goliath, I think is an understatement. Let's just predict what it's going to be. Sweep or not, Ishmael, Bucks and the Magic.
I mean, I feel sorry for the Magic because they're playing home games. Yeah. They got Disney on their shirt and stuff. For branding, it's tough, Branding, Disney are probably like, come on, dudes. But in the same, they're gonna get 4 home games, and get swept at home. That's crazy.
A sweep.
Yeah, I was a sweep. It's come on. They have. I don't see where they're better at any position. So yeah, it's over.
They got a great mascot. I mean,
I know, Mickey Mouse. Like, what are we gonna do?
Oh, it's Mouse. It's Puffed or whatever dragon. That green dragon with the.
It should be Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Did Shaq wear Mickey Mouse ears when he got drafted?
He must have. It's hilarious though. You got
Chuck, sweep. Chuck, do you think sweep or not sweep?
Oh yeah, sweep. Yeah, I think sweep. I think they might have one close game, but nah, sweep.
NBA?
Yeah, sweep. Yeah, real quick, in and out. I don't even think the games will be close. Giannis will play like 30 minutes, average 30 points. Like, yeah.
Well, that's key for the Bucks because they need to sort of, if that's going to be a sweep, which everyone predicts, they do need to minimize his minutes, but we all predict it. Moving on, big surprise of this season was the Miami Heat. I mean, I wouldn't say surprise. They got Jimmy Butler in. He's playing phenomenal this year, but talk about the supporting players that they have. NBA, who in your mind is really going to step up in this Indiana series?
I think you know what you're going to get from Jimmy. I think Bam's kind of coming to his zone. You know what you're kind of going to get from him, double-doubles. He's actually been dishing the ball out real well, which actually surprised me this much this season. But you know who I like? his toughness and stuff is off the bench, the rookie Tyler Hero. I think he's, I don't know, he's got his kind of own little swag about him that he's not scared of the moment, scared of the lights. He's one of those guys that will take and make big time shots. So I think it's going to be a good series. They match up pretty well. I think Indiana, obviously, without Oladipo majority of the year, like I think they surprised a few people and how strong they were this season. But they match up really well, and I think it's one of those teams that again do it as a team. Obviously, TJ Warren has been going crazy since the bubble started, but before that, like just up and down, they're just very, very, very solid, and people kind of forget that, and it goes under people's radars because, as I said, like teams that don't really have a superstar, kind of people forget about them. But you know, you finish in top 4 in the East. Obviously, teams above you are the Bucks. You know what I mean? Toronto and Celtics, like they're obviously the alpha dogs in the East. So it's for them to finish right behind them and above Miami and also above Philly with their roster and everything shows like how good of a team they actually are. But it's going to be real competitive, I think, back and forth. I think Miami will get out of it, but that one could go 6 or 7 games.
Interesting. So, I mean, it will be very close, of course. But, you know, you talked about Tyler Hero, but moving on to you now, Ishmael, you look at the 3-point percentages by Miami. I mean, they're a team that, in my mind, they live and die by the 3. You got Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. You've got players such as Kelly Olynyk, a big player that steps out and shoots. You've also got experienced players such as Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala, of course. But you're Indiana. How do you defend a team that's just so clutch from the perimeter?
I think, I mean, in British basketball, there was a guy, he Fab Filona, and he always used to overplay. So he used to make guys just run guys off the line. I think that works with most players except Jimmy Butler. You'd have to deal with a lot of scoring from Jimmy. But if Miami live and die by the 3 so much, you run them off the line. You pick them up early as well. I haven't seen anyone really playing that old school college basketball where we're guarding guys 94 feet, especially with the roster some of these guys have. I think if we go back to the Denver game, that could have been one way to adjust what Murray was doing, not letting him walk the ball up, you know, because, you know, this is the playoffs, for God's sake. I mean, stopping guys from penetrating and kicking, or if they are going to penetrate, you're sending them one way. There's lots of things you could do to negate great 3-point shooting percentages and make those percentages go down. But you've got to stop him in transition because Miami, they shoot those transition jumpers. Your pick and roll defense, you've got to get that guy stunting and you've got to get that guy shooting to the corner to make sure everyone's covered. And you've got to run dudes off the line. You can't just have them dribbling in front of you. You know one thing Jason Tatum does that really annoys me? He can cross right to left 50 times without someone even thinking, I'm sending him right this game. Okay, I'm sending him left this game. Everything he's shooting is going to be a step back. He just gets what he wants. And maybe with good 3-point shooting teams, you've got to make them uncomfortable from the jump, 94 feet.
Chuck, Indiana, do they have a chance?
I think they do. I think there's the two key players for them, I think, is going to be TJ Warren and Victor Oladipo. You know, I think TJ Warren, you know, we've all seen the back and forth between him and Jimmy Butler. And I think, you know, for him, it's going to be more so mental more than anything. You know, as basketball players, we all know, you know, that's, you know, I'd say 80% of the game is mental and getting your mentality right. And he's got to be up for it because Jimmy's going to be up for it. You know, he's one of my favorite players in the league. You know, not because of his ability, but just because he's a dog. Like he's ready to war. You know, at any means necessary. Like, and yeah, and I think Victor Oladipo is the other one because, you know, I think, you know, he's coming off I think it's an ACL injury. So for him, you know, again, mentally he'd be wanting to try and put himself back on that all-star stage that he was at before his injury. And I think he could pose a lot of problems, you know, matchup-wise for them. So I think those two will be key for them getting the job done.
Moving on to the last series now, probably the biggest talking point right now, the team that everyone's talking about is the Trailblazers. Damian Lillard playing just some of the best basketball right now we've seen in any player for a while, of course. But I'm hearing mixed reviews. Some people saying, LeBron, AD, they're going to sweep the Blazers. Other people are saying, no, the Blazers are going to give them a series. NBA, do the Portland Trail Blazers have a chance of surprising the world?
There's definitely a possibility. Like, I wouldn't go out there and just be like, there's 0% chance. I think the issues, obviously, Dame's going to be Dame, and you know what you can get from him, as he's shown, obviously, over the last few nights in general. Like, you can have the 50s, the 60s, or whatever, the 40s. But these games, obviously, they were must-wins, but he was also squeaking out victories. You got to remember, like, I know they haven't played their best basketball in the bubble, but the Lakers are a veteran-savvy team with, if not the GOAT, one of the GOATs of the game. And with their size, it's going to be interesting because I was talking to somebody about this last week, but Portland is one of the few teams that can match up with the Lakers' size. So Portland, with Nurkic, Hassan Whiteside, Zach Collins, you know what I mean, all these big bodies that can counteract all the Lakers' size with obviously Dwight, AD, JaVale McGee, obviously. I just think it's going to be an interesting series. Obviously, Rondo's back in the bubble apparently, so I think he's quarantining, so I don't know if he's able to play. I don't know if he's able to play tonight, but I think he should be around for game 2. I think he's on a 4-day quarantine or something. But that's a huge pickup defensively at the guard spot because without him and Avery Bradley, then obviously Dame and CJ was trying to run amok. But with some type of, I'm not saying Rondo can stop these guys, but with some type of defensive presence on the wing or at the guard position at least. Obviously, you've got Danny Green in there who can play great on that end of the floor. Like, it's a big addition getting Rondo back. So I don't know. I think I want to see how tonight's game goes before I say any predictions because it's so varied right now because playoff LeBron is a different animal. And I think everybody in the world knows that, obviously, over the past 15 years, you've seen it. So I think Lakers, as bad as they have been playing, like, they're old enough to be able to flip a switch and turn it on into great basketball. And like I said, if Dame can carry on doing what he's doing, it's just going to be a one hell of a series.
I mean, that's what everyone's saying right now. The depth they've got, the experience. As you mentioned, playoff LeBron is completely different than what you see in the regular season. We've seen that for years. Ishmael, we talk about those depths in the two different teams. I mean, you think about the starting players or the non-start, or just the regular players for the Trailblazers. You know, your Damians, your Lillards, your Nurkic, all those other players. How many minutes of games do these players need to play in this series?
They better play 48. My guy for the Portland Trailblazers that no one really talks about is Nurkic.
Who?
The geezer had Nurkic.
Don't know who that. Oh yeah.
The geezer had 17 rebounds in the first half of that game, where Damian had 31. Now 31's great. You know, I love it. But there's someone in the world, everywhere around the world, that's getting 31. You know, the kid is the player of the bubble. TJ Warren getting buckets. You know, young boy Doncic getting buckets. He's getting 17 rebounds in a half. Like, let's. That's my problem. He's the one that kept him in the game. He hit all these important shots at the top of the key. He was rebounding, running the floor. He plays excellent screen defense. His pick and roll defense. Go watch him. His pick and roll defense is ridiculous. But I want to put this to the guys. If I start LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, Morris, AD, and one of the bigs, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. LeBron James is guarding Damian Lillard. Is Dame time? Is it really Dame time, if that's the case?
Yeah, man. Dame's cooking him, man.
Yo!
Dame is cooking him, man.
Chuck, tell us, I was just about to ask that question. If LeBron guards Damian Lillard, what's the outcome?
For the whole game?
Whole game, yeah.
Oh, Dame's going for 40 or 50, man. And that's no disrespect to LeBron. I just don't think Father Time's on his side on that end of the floor. I think he'll pick up Damian Lillard maybe down the stretch. I just don't think it's sustainable to have LeBron running the one offensively and guarding the team's best scorer at this point in his career.
I don't think he'll start on him.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll start on Danny Green or.
Yeah, I think it makes sense maybe putting him on him down the stretch, like late in the fourth quarter, just to give him a different look. But to have him guarding him the whole game, absolutely not. I tell you what, I'm interested to see is LeBron guarding Carmelo, who I think he'll end up guarding most of the game. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup.
But that's the narrative, though. That's what I mean. Now, Carmelo, in that game where Nurkic had 17 and McCollum had you can't guard me, and Dame had his 31. No one spoke about Nurkic, and Carmelo played bad. Now, just period. He played bad. And LeBron was not guarding this man, okay? And anytime he squeaks out a semi-good game, internet goes crazy. Oh, you are wrong. No, this is the narrative don't work here now, okay? Carmelo is catching and shooting. They're not just giving him the ball for the touches he used to have. That's why Carmelo looks the way he looks right now. And no, I don't think he'll guard him the whole game. But LeBron James locked up the youngest MVP, locked him up. Derrick Rose locked him up. And Derrick Rose is not a jump shooter. Derrick Rose is way more explosive than Damian Lillard. So if you're going to tell me that Damian Lillard is going to shoot 40 jumpers against LeBron James, I'm telling you, they're not winning that game. Like, if Damian Lillard gets...
What year was this when he got
that was a while ago.
The year Miami. No, he locked him up.
2012.
Go check.
2012. It's 8 years ago,
Okay,
though, bro.
I understand.
That Scottie Pippen had his front to the Rockets to prove he was better than Jordan.
Guys, listen to me. It's the eye test is right. We always talk about father time of LeBron James. He is not slower. And when he runs the point, he's not doing a Luka Doncic where he's taking 50 dribbles. He kicks the ball, he goes and screens, he gets it back, he uses a pick and roll, and he kicks it again. He's not just he commands way more coverage than anyone else. So he's just standing there looking and picking people apart with the pass. So I understand when guys go, oh, father time, and his beard is white and his hairline's crazy. His hairline's always been crazy. When he was in high school, his hairline was crazy. So I just think we're taking for granted how great this dude is, like how unbelievable this dude is.
I hear what you're saying. It's just, I'm looking at, Lillard has the speed advantage on LeBron. He's very, very explosive. I could see a situation where LeBron's not going to be able to play him. He's not able to sustain a high level of defensive pressure on him for a long period of time without getting in foul trouble.
Okay.
I just think it's not in the Lakers' favor for LeBron to be tired out guarding Damian Lillard, and Lillard likes a screen and roll here and there. I don't think it's sustainable for them to have LeBron on him for long periods of the game. And you've seen how bad the Lakers are when LeBron's off the floor. So the last thing they want is to get LeBron in foul trouble. They need him out there for 40. They need him out there as long as the Trailblazers need Dame and CJ out there. Last thing they want is LeBron in foul trouble, because any game LeBron's in foul trouble, I think the Portland wins. I don't think the Lakers are. I think the drop off from when LeBron's on the floor and when he's not on the floor is so drastic. Even when he's on the floor.
Even without Rondo.
Even without Rondo.
Chuck, you can either change it to the Guru or the Voice of Reason. That was like the most. You could see things happening when you explained it. It was so articulate. It was just beautiful. It was.